Hello everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have my September wrap-up. So this month was the Aurelium Magical Readathon, as well as the 30 and 30 Manga Challenge. So we are going to be going through my stats, as well as all of the books that I read during the month. This is a big one, so strap on in. I read 34 books in the month of September. Yes, 30 of them are going to be manga. We will talk about that. I completed my 30 and 30 manga challenge, which I am very, very happy about, which obviously makes this the highest number of books in 1 month for the entire year. Gonna be the same thing with page number. Moving over to page number, I read 6,709 pages in the month. Not my highest month ever, but my highest month for the year for sure. Moving to my audiobook, my hours listened per month, it was 5 hours worth. I think I only listened to 1 audiobook in the month, which was down a little bit. As you guys can see, once we sort of got closer to the summer months, it went down a little bit. Presley is back in school now, so I'm hoping this goes back up. And then moving into my individual monthly stats, the reading method for September, like I said, was 1 audiobook and then 33 physical reads. So everything else that I did was physically. As for genre, I did read 16 books that were paranormal, 7 fantasy, 5 romance, 5 contemporary, and 1 horror. Moving down, we do have the book format. So 4 of them I would consider novels or like actual prose books that you would read, and 30 of them were the manga that I read in the month. As for indie or traditional, 2 of them were independently published and 32 of them were traditionally published. As for how I got it, 13 of them were borrowed from the library. That was a lot of the manga. I have been reading quite a few of the manga from the library this year. Some of these are series that I want to own eventually. Some of them are not. 10 of them are ones that I owned prior to this year on my physical TBR. 8 of them are ones that I have read before, so I reread them this year. And 3 of them are ones that I bought this year and put on the physical TBR. So 13 books actually are ones that came off the TBR, which is great. As for the age category of the books, 26 were young adult, 4 were adult, 3 were new adult, and 1 is middle grade. My amount of young adult here is purely because I read a bunch of manga. Usually my adult titles are more than the young adult titles, but I do find that a lot of the manga that I read is still what I would consider young adult, or they usually have it as like rated T for teen on the back. Shoujo, that kind of stuff is usually what I gravitate towards. Going down to the publication year, this is a new category that we are tracking this year. 29 of the books that I read are backlist, things that were published a while ago. I did also read 3 that were from 2025, 1 that was published in 2024, and 1 that was published in 2023. I am only looking at publication year individually from what the current year is, plus a couple other years. So this year, 2025, 2024, 2023. Everything else I'm counting as backlist or classics. I didn't read any of those this month. But so that, it makes sense. And then another new category that I am doing this year is where the author is from. I'm only tracking this once per author, so when we go into like my yearly stats at the end of the year, it'll only be once per author. This is once per author per month. So there are some authors that I have read previously to this month that normally wouldn't show up on this map like during the normal whole year, but I did end up putting it here so we could see. Out of all the authors that I read this month, 7 of them are from Japan. A lot of that is because of the manga that I read. 3 are from the United States and 1 was from New Zealand. And then the last stat that we have is the star ratings. So these star ratings, and I think because most of it was manga, were pretty darn good this month. I did have 1 2-star, which was my lowest rated. After that, we had 1 3-star, 7 3.5 stars, 10 4-stars, 3 4.5 stars, and 12 5-star reads. So I did have quite a few things that I absolutely loved in the month, which is great. My average rating for the month is a 4.2, which I want to say is above what my average for the whole year is. So that is great. Now we are going to get into everything that I read this month, starting from the lowest rated going to my favorite book of the month. Because a lot of these are manga, and not just manga, but manga series, I will talk about each series at one time and give you my individual ratings per volume as we go. So the first book that we are going to be talking about is my lowest rated book for the month. Which was a 2, like I said. That is Rainbow Days Volume 1 by Minami Mizuno. So this I actually read during a vlog. I will leave the manga vlog link down below, but I basically took about 24 hours trying to read as much manga as I could. I ended up reading about 7 volumes in that video, and this was one of the ones that I just did not like. This does say that it's rated for teen, older teen at that, which makes sense, but this follows 4 different boys in high school, and they are all supposed to have like a different aspect of their personality that we see on here. So like Natsuki is a dreamer who longs for love, Tomoya is a self-centered playboy, Keiichi is a winsome guy with a hidden saucy streak, and Tsuyoshi is a socially awkward nerd. I just did not like how much this was not what I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit more fun high school stuff. All the characters seem to be very much like over-the-top caricatures, and the thing that really got me is the self-centered playboy looking for love has like 5 girls strung along at the beginning of the story, and then the winsome guy with a hidden saucy streak constantly talks about like BDSM and master dynamics and things like that, and that was like on page 3 was the first instance of it. I did finish this volume. I hated every second of it. I should have DNF'd, but I was reading it for a video, and like it's the first volume of a manga. I was hoping it was gonna get better. It did not. Okay, moving to my 3-star read. It is going to be another manga, and this one we're gonna talk about the whole series. It's one of the Demon Prince of Momochi house volumes. This is by Aya Shoto. We'll start at volume 1 with my ratings of this, and then we'll get into how I liked everything. So volume 1, I gave 3.5 stars. Volume 2, I gave 3.5 stars. Volume 3 was 3.5 stars. Volume 4 was 4 stars. Volume 5 was 4 stars. Volume 6 was 4 stars. Volume 7 was 4.5 stars. Volume 8 was 4.5 stars. Now, these are all ones that I have reread, 1 through 8. Previous to this year, I had rated them on Goodreads as like 5s. They are not 5s. I do feel like I try to rate my manga very differently than novels because you are having to read it in a different format. You are having to read it with dialogue as well as interpret the images in here. I just did not think it held up as well as I would have liked. Volume 9, so my first new one for the series, was 5 stars, and this concluded like the first main arc of the story. I don't know why, I just never finished the first main arc. I think it was because when I first started this series, only up through volume 8 was out, and then I wanted to have more of the series before I continued. So this was a 5-star. I absolutely loved the way that this concluded the arc. Volume 10 was 4 stars. Volume 11 was 4.5 stars. Volume 12 was 5 stars. Volume 13 was 4 stars. Volume 14 was 3.5 stars. Volume 15 was 3.5 stars. And so volume 16, which is the end of this series, was my 3-star read. That's the reason we're talking about this now, is I had a 3-star and it was this one. Now, I will say this series starts off slow, and I think that's why I gave it lower ratings than I used to, because like I said before, I read about half this series previously, years ago, and it definitely starts off slow. This follows a girl named Hamari, who is a Momochi, so Hamari Momochi, and she inherits the Momochi house from someone in her family. She is an orphan, so we don't exactly know, like maybe a distant relative or something, so she shows up to this house to find people already living in it, but it's not just people. It's like demons and spirits and things, because this is a house between the human world and the spirit world. There's also this guy here who is human, and he's sort of trapped in the house, and so she is trying to figure out what things are going on, if there's like a curse that's holding him here, all that kind of stuff. And it starts off slow, so I definitely gave the first few volumes like 3.5. It slowly started to get better, got some 4s in there. The volumes that I gave 5 stars, which I think were only like 2 total in this whole series, were the ones that really delved into character and backstory of the characters here. And we didn't get a ton of those. So it was definitely something where like almost every single volume, I was just wishing for more from this. And then we got to a point near the second arc. Basically, we finished the first arc around volume 9, and I really liked how that finished. But we got some other issues and problems and stuff that we got in later volumes of the series that I just didn't like as much. Like, I was wanting more conclusion for things, and it just didn't happen. And then this volume, I probably actually should have rated it less than a 3-star, but like I felt bad saying that I hated this one, but I really did not like where we ended up, the conclusion to this series, like at all. And I really can't get into it because of like everything that's going on. It is very much like she learns about like the different quirkiness of the house and the different spirits and demons and things that are there, and like bad things can happen and stuff like that. And I'm just like, the ending ruined it for me pretty much. Like, I just really did not like this one. I gave it a 3 because I don't think it was necessarily a big jump down from the rest of everything else that was happening, but a lot of the books here I did give like 3.5 stars because I was just really, really wanting more. Like, there was a lot of potential here, but I did not really enjoy the ending. Okay, now we're gonna move into the other 3.5 stars that I have. The first one that we have here is gonna be another manga series. So again, one of the volumes here was rated 3.5 stars. This is one of the ones that I did talk about in the vlog that I did, and it's gonna be Night of the Ice by Yayoi Ogawa. So I read the first 3 volumes of this series, and I gave volume 1 3.5 stars. I gave volume 2 and 3 4 stars. So I do think it improved. This feels like a very much like an older manga series. The art style is a little bit more classic manga from like my high school day and age, like early 2000s. That's what it sort of felt like. And basically we follow a figure skater who's supposed to be like the next big figure skater for Japan, as well as like his childhood best friend, who people don't really know that they know each other. And he is sort of like a nerd and really into this like magical girl anime from way back in the day. And so she has to like go to his different meets backstage and do a spell from this magical girl anime so that he can hit all his triple toe loops and things like that. Again, it starts off a little bit slow, and I wasn't entirely sure about this. There are a little bit of instances of sort of like sexual harassment, misogyny, a little bit of things like that that pop up, especially in the first one. There is still a little bit in the second and third volumes, but it was things that I was like, I'm uncomfortable with this. It's probably a little bit a product of its times. You see that a lot more in like older manga and things like that. Doesn't mean it's okay, but like I see why it's there. But I wasn't too sure if I wanted to continue at first with the first volume. The second and third volumes got a little bit better. We have a little bit more character development. There's a little bit of like romance, friendship, things popping up in here that I am enjoying more. I don't think this is a series that I want to own, so I'll probably finish it through my library. There are like 9 volumes total. But yeah, a good one to try out. And then the last 3.5 star that I have here is going to be a book, Mr. Magic by Kirsten White. So this is a one that you guys voted on during my TBR for September. It does fulfill a magical readathon prompt, which was to have a book that had my birth flower color, which was carnation. So we picked a lot of different like pinks and peaches and reds and things like that. And this I gave 3.5. Again, I was just wanting a little bit more from this. This is a book that is supposed to be about mainly one girl, but there's other people, side characters as well, who when she was a kid was on this TV show called Mr. Magic, and it's one of those things that's like lost to time. People remember it, but it's sort of hazy. There's not really anything on like the computer, the internet. There's no videos about it. She forgot really anything to do with this, and it is now time for like a reunion for this show, and people have found her like the day of her father's funeral to take her back to like do this kind of stuff and meet people that used to do this, and she doesn't really remember what's going on. So a lot of this stuff is like her being in the dark and us feeling this like tense atmosphere. It was very unsettling for a lot of it, but I wanted more. There was just, again, stuff that was happening, sure, great, yeah, but I didn't really feel like the horror as much. Like, I'm pretty sure I picked this up January of this year in the horror section at Barnes & Noble, and I just felt like it was a little bit more of a mystery. There wasn't really any of that like actual like, oh my gosh, stuff is happening now. It was that unsettling feeling through most of it, and so I was just really wanting more from the stuff that ended up happening. And then again, for this one, I did not like the ending. I just did not care for where everything went from there. So 3.5, because I was hooked, especially at the beginning. I needed to know what was happening with it, but I do feel like it could have gone so much better. Now we're going to be moving into my 4-star reads. The first one I have here is another manga series, and this is going to be one that I talked about in the manga vlog that I did. It's going to be Ima Koi, Now I'm in Love by Ayuko Hata. So I read the first 3 volumes of this. Volume 1, I gave 5 stars. Volume 2, I gave 4 stars. And volume 3, I gave 5 stars. So I actually really, really liked this. The reason we're talking about it here is because I did give one of the volumes 4 stars. But basically this follows 2 high school kids where she, I guess, apparently had a crush in middle school and never told the boy. And so because of that, she just was like, I never knew what he was going to say. So I want to, the next time I have a crush on somebody, the next time I like somebody, I want to tell them right away. And so she ends up having a crush on him. She tells him and he's like, okay, fine, let's date. And I really, really liked the romance between them. It is very much like Insta-like. They're not really in love, but it's very much, there's no pining. There's no like, will they tell each other their feelings? Like, she tells him really early and they start a relationship. But there's a lot of like communication from them. I really like that they like to talk things through. So there are things that go on, like typical shoujo stuff, but the way that the romance has started, I really, really enjoy. So I love the characters, I love the high school setting, I love the like romance that is building here and the way that they're going about it. The reason that I gave book 2 a 4-star instead is his sister is introduced in here. This is the only volume his sister is in right now. She did not come back for volume 3, but she's very much sort of like mean girl energy, and I just did not like her at all. So the fact that she's in volume 2, and for part, like quite a big part of it, I just was like, she's the only thing. Them? Great. Her? No. I did not like her. I don't know if she's going to come back eventually. I don't know if it's going to be in a different sort of way. Like maybe she's not mean girl as much anymore. I have no idea. I don't think she grew in this like at all, but I did not like that aspect. That was the only aspect that I did not like. This is another one that I do definitely want to continue with. I think, again, it's going to be about 9 volumes. And I think I might want to own this because I really, really, really enjoyed the other 2. Okay, my next 4-star is Secrets of Blackthorn Hall by Cassandra Clare. So this was a book that was indie published because she did it through the Kickstarter. I think this was all things that she had put as like individual like little pieces on her Tumblr and stuff a while ago, and I just never read it that way. So I was very excited and happy to get it through this. I have this listed as a novel because I don't think I have a different way to put this, but these are actually all like letters and texts between like Emma and Julian and their family and friends, because they are like on a year after the end of Queen of Air and Darkness. They are like on vacation and Julian gets a notice that he has inherited Blackthorn Hall, and if he doesn't go fix it up, it's gonna be like given to the Clave or something. And then when they get there, they realize there's a ghost and things there, and so things go from that direction. But like I said, it's a lot of letters between the different characters and things. I like that we got hints and pieces of things from previous books in the series like the other series, as well as things that are potentially gonna maybe pop up in the Wicked Powers, which should hopefully be having book 1 next year sometime, I think. So I really did enjoy this. However, the actual style of it, the fact that it's letters and a lot of people telling things of what happened after the fact, like there would be a letter of like, oh, we realized that we need to go have this thing taken care of because there might be a curse on this object or whatever it is, and then they were like, we're gonna go do this, and then the next letter would be like, hey, it's done, we have the thing, here's how it happened. Because of that style, I didn't like it as much as other Shadowhunter books, obviously. Most of that series, most of that world, I give 4.5 or 5 stars. Like, I absolutely love it. I liked seeing the stuff in here. I liked the different pieces from the previous, like the prequel series and things like that. But the actual format of it is not my thing. So 4 stars. This was also a book that was for my magical readathon, which was to read an auto by author, which this is. My next 4 stars is Map of Flames. This is the first book in the Forgotten 5 series by Lisa McMahon. This is a middle grade fantasy about these 5 kids who their parents have powers. So this is, okay, this is a fantasy, but at the same time, I feel like we have like superpowers, so it could be a little bit sci-fi in that way. I'm leaning more toward fantasy right now. But we have these kids who their parents have powers, and they are, I guess, shunned sort of for that. People don't like other people that have these sort of powers. And so way back in the day, before they had kids, the parents were like robbing museums and banks and things like that. So they're sort of like the bad guys. We come into this story with these kids here. The oldest of them, I think they're around 12. There's a couple of them in that age group, and then we do have like one of the youngest ones, which I think is him up here, is like 10, I want to say. So they're all around 10, 11, 12, maybe 13 at the most. We don't have exact definitions of it, but these 5 kids are from 4 different couples of the like bad guys. They were living on this island recently in the last like few years with only one Birdie and Bricks, their dad. All the other parents went to go do something. We don't know what happened to them. They could have been captured. They could have been killed. We don't know. Well, at the very beginning of the story, their dad has died. And so they are having to now bury him and figure out what they're going to do next. They sort of know how to survive by themselves. They know how to fish. They have powers that help them as well. And Birdie has this like map that she has found, the map of flames from her father, that tells her basically to go find her mother in the city that they've never been in their whole lives, because I guess this fortune that they had stolen is somewhere and that can help them out. And so this whole book is about them. A lot of this is actually about them on the island, which I felt was a little bit slow. We could have increased that urgency a little bit. But then we see them go to the actual city and things. They have no idea like what anything is. I thought it was a very good sort of like people that have never seen technology before finding out about things. Like, I really liked that aspect. I really liked the friendship between the kids. And then they're trying to like figure things out. I do feel like this is a very like first book in a series sort of thing, because we did figure some stuff out, but we didn't really get into a lot of like what you can tell is like bigger backstory stuff that's going to happen, bigger things in the world. But I know there's multiple books in the series, so it is definitely one that I want to continue. I thought it was a really, really good start, so 4 stars. Okay, we talked about my 4.5 star that I had in the other stuff that I talked about, so now all we have left are 5-star reads. So the first ones that I want to talk about here is another manga series. This is going to be Sakura Saku. I read volume 7 and volume 8. These are both by Io Sakisaka. Gave them both 5 stars. Absolutely love this series. This is very shoujo, first love, that kind of stuff. I love the friendship aspects. And so I've definitely talked about this on my channel before. It's quite far into the series now. I don't know much else to say about it, except for like the main premise of the story is that a girl named Saku had an incident like on the subway, on the train, and a boy came to her help who she doesn't really know who it was, only left her a note saying that it was Ryosuke Sakura, and then she finds out that Ryosuke Sakura's brother is in her class at school, and things go from there. Like I said, lots of like really good friendship and romance and things. Like it's very like, this is the typical like pining romance that you want. I love it. Then the next one I have here is I Hear the Sunspot, 4 Seasons, Volume 2 by Yuki Fumino. So this is technically Volume 7 in the series, but this manga series actually like tells you what books are in what arc. So we're in the 4 Seasons arc of this. This is another one that is like one of my absolute favorites. I love it so, so much. This is going to be an LGBTQ male-male romance, new adult, because these guys they start the series in college. I think they're both sort of trying to figure out jobs and stuff now. Like one of them went on job interviews, the other one already has a job. But what it really is that one of them is hard of hearing. And so when they first meet in the first volume, the other one is taking notes for him for his class in exchange for box lunches. We are now in a relationship and we have, you know, the work schedule stuff and the romance and the friendships, and there are other people here that are also deaf or hard of hearing. So I really like how wide the world seems to be. Besides that, I guess it's more like slice of life type of thing. Like we don't really have like the romance being the driving force through this, even though I absolutely love it and I love them, and I just really love this series, and so yeah, 5 stars. Then my next 5-star read that I have here, more manga, obviously. I read more of Snow White with the Red Hair by Sarada Akiduki. So I read Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, and Volume 10. So this is a series that I have absolutely been loving. I've been reading it from my library. I definitely want to own it at some point. I have given every single volume 5 stars. And we start, you know, Volume 1. Let me see, do we have any characters? We'll go to this volume here. With our main character, she is Snow White with the red hair. Volume 1 is more of a little bit of a Snow White retelling sort of thing, versus everything else that you read. But she basically has been coveted by one of the rulers of her kingdom for the red hair. He's trying to get her to like be his wife or something like that, and she decides to escape to a neighboring kingdom, and while there is discovered by people that want to help her there. Those people end up being the second prince of the neighboring kingdom and his like guards and things, and then everything happens from there. This is like the perfect sort of slow burn romance, although we are fully in the romance by now, but I loved the characterization and I love the pining, and like everything is just like the angst of it. This is a fantasy world where we don't really have magic, but it is that sort of medieval sort of stuff, and I've just been absolutely loving the world building and the characters and the friendships and everything. I've given every single volume of this 5 out of 5 stars. I love it so, so much. I will eventually own this. I will. And then the last one that I have here, the one that I'm saying is my favorite book of the month, is Fantasy of Freedom by Kelly St. Clair. So this is another book that I read for the Magical Readathon as well. This one has a single point of view. I was 1 book down for the Magical Readathon. I'm currently in the middle of my last book for that, so we're still gonna say that I've pretty much completed it. I'm sure I could pull a manga for something if I really needed to. But this is the last book in the Tainted Accord series. Did I say it was by Kelly St. Clair? It is. I can't remember. I absolutely love this one. So this is a 4-book series. So this is book 4 that I started a few years ago. I really enjoyed book 1 and book 2. I think I gave them both like 4.5 stars. There's a little bit that I just wanted more from, but like each book sort of builds. Book 1 and book 2 are very different from each other because we're following a girl named Olina, who is like the princess, the next heir of this like fire kingdom. And there's like a fire kingdom and an ice kingdom that are completely separate except for this like interesting sort of like pathway through this like nothingness almost. And that's the only way they can connect. And in book 1, there's like a convoy, let's say, of ice kingdom people that come to her kingdom, and she's slowly starting to make friends with one of the princes from the ice kingdom, and she has this like veil covering her face. She's never allowed to have anybody see her, and a tragedy happens where then she is then kidnapped from the Fire Kingdom and taken to the Ice Kingdom. And so book 1 is a lot of like new things for her and she's trying to figure out what happened. Book 2 is her figuring out other stuff in the Ice Kingdom. They feel very, very different, but then book 3 really brings them together. And this one here is more like political fantasy, trying to like save kingdoms and things like that. And I really, really love her as a character. Book 3 and book 4 also bring in a lot of the fantasy romance stuff. There is romance here. The fantasy is the biggest thing, but like there's really, really good romance stuff in here. This is, I think, new adult more. Did I label this as new adult? Because I labeled I Hear the Sunspot as a new adult, but this is not as steamy as some books, but I think the actual like characters are old enough that you could say this could be a new adult or adult book. But just keep that in mind. It's not like super graphic in that way, but I still really, really love the way that the romance and everything has built up here. I really loved the ending of this story. Yeah, like probably one of my favorite series. I definitely need to read more from this author. This is obviously indie published as well. Like it was so, so well done. I loved it. And so that is going to be it for me today. Hopefully not too long because we talked about all the series of manga together, but like I really went above and beyond this month. Again, I only read 30 of the 30 volumes of manga, but that was, you know, still quite a bit. I'm very happy with that, and I'm gonna be trying to read more, probably not more than 30, but more stuff in October and everything. And so that is it for me today. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye.